Hey, welcome to episode 119, Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, I reflect on everything from can versus should to many websites for teachers, Canva read-write, tech tools for teachers, and rounding the week off with some good thoughts about must be nice. So, the title of this, Can Be Nice. No, it can be nice. It really can. All right, without further ado, here's episode 119, Fresh Air at 5.
I'm Josh Swartz.
And I'm William Illingworth,
hosts of the High Tech Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now.
Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others.
Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey, PLN Monday, April 24, 2023. We are approaching the end of April. Man, it is going so fast. It is going crazy fast. I thought I just said that a moment ago about the end of March, but here we are. This week, I'm going to be heading to Prince George, British Columbia for the Spring Fling Educational Conference that has being held up there representing my PETA and having an opportunity to spend time with educators up there and then possibly going fishing. Actually, that's the plan right now, to fish after that. So looking forward to that opportunity. And yes, this morning I listened to episode 102 of the Tom Schimmer Show. And good morning, Tom. Glad to hear your voice, and have a great time in Atlanta and then in Salt Lake City, I think later this week, as you do some conferences. In this episode, you talked about the can versus the should. And you came around eventually to, about using AI. Can we use AI versus should we use AI? It gets down to an ethics of the thing. And if we have a tool that can make it more efficient, we call that technology. But you know what? Is it always right to use said technology? That's a good question. I came home one day this past week, and my daughter was like, "Dad, we're talking about AI and about ChatGPT in class, and we're talking about where's the line of when we can stop doing that." She's in grade 9. I'm really glad to hear that there is this conversation going on. Now, the challenge is how many students didn't know about it and now know about it and are going to go and cheat. But me as an educator, am I going to be cheating? I don't know. That's the thing to think about, right? So, yes, this business is difficult, it's challenging, and if we can have some efficiencies and ways of doing things, should we or can we? Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that thought. Coming back in a second for a little bit more of the Tom Schimmer Podcast, Thoughts by Carpenter. The last thing for April 24, 2023. As I said in the previous section, listening to episode 102 of the Tom Schimmer Show, Tom has on guest Rannick Roy, or, Shannick Roy.
But he is a mechanical engineer turned education platform designer called Yellow Dig, and he's currently the founder of that. That's his latest venture, and it's about student engagement and about relationship building and community and how they are doing things differently than all the other platforms that are using, relationship building and community to drive learning. There's talk about self-determination and how do we know when students are intrinsically motivated
as opposed to extrinsic motivation. And this is a challenge, like we want to see students' eyes light up. We want to see them engaged in their learning because they want to, as opposed to because they have to, So it's a great conversation to listen to. And, I encourage you to take a listen. At the very end of the Tom Sherman podcast, episode 102, Tom brings us the last 4-chapter review of Redefining Student Accountability, his new book that just finally came out, he said. And it's about taking, us as teachers from, saying things about student accountability and actually teaching them student accountability and growing them as responsible learners. We want that, but do we do that? We punish misbehavior. Should we punish misbehavior, or should we, encourage the proper behavior? All right, lots to think about there. Take a listen. Thanks, Tom. Have a fabulous week. Peace. Bye. Good morning, PLN. It's April 25, 2023, Tuesday. The week is moving along, and my goodness, in my worlds, I described it to my friend Bruce that I ran into down the street a little bit ago. He asked me how things are going, and I'm like, it's going bonker balls. We are moving at a pace this week. There is so much stuff going on, and as the week goes on, you'll hear more about these things as they're going on. One thing that's happening tomorrow, which is super exciting, is we're releasing our coho salmon into a stream in our town with our K-2 students. And this is a project that they've been involved in since January, actually since even before Christmas, when we started talking about salmon and habitats and life cycles, and it's fantastic. So that's a big thing that's going on with me. There's some publication stuff going on in our school that are wrapping up. Other things. Okay, this morning I listened to episode 136 of Got Tech, the podcast, and Eric and Nick, it's good to hear your voice. I think I missed a couple episodes recently. Go check those out. They got good resources in all their episodes. They have got a new website and side podcast called AIteachers.tips, and that's a new resource for learning about AI and their learning that they are doing because, there is so much going on, and I think the AI is writing content itself that is adding to this conversation. I don't know. Maybe it is. Skynet, is it here yet? Who knows? Not yet, but maybe. So we need to be aware of it so that we can be engaged with it in our space, because it's not going to go away. And this morning as I'm walking, I listened to episode 136 as they bring us 23 websites that teachers should know about. And if you don't know about these websites, you should look at the show notes and go and dig into some of these. Take a listen to their episode. They give a good description of a number of all these things, and some cool and interactive spaces, databases of information, lesson plans, music, color, etc., etc. So it's not apps, it's websites. Thanks, Eric and Nick. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, it's April 26, 2023. Today is a fantastic day. Early this morning, I'm out for fresh air at 5, and it is a beautiful morning. I can hear the birds chirping in the background, and it's going to be a nice day. Looking forward to today at school, as today is swim away day for our coho salmon that we've been raising in our classroom with our K-2 students. And Mrs. Fadden, the teacher of the classroom, has welcomed me in, and we have watched our salmon grow from eggs to alevin to fry, and today we're taking them to the creek to let them go. All right, that's a bit more update about what's going on. Full week for me, as I said prior in this week, but it's a good week. All right, this morning I listened to episode 54 of Evolving with Gratitude with Lainey Rowell, as Lainey brings us guest Natasha Nurse, who is from Long Beach, New Jersey. Nope, New York. Long Beach, New York, I believe. And not California. And so I didn't know that there was a Long Beach out in the northeast. So I know that now, and that's cool. So Natasha, thanks so much for sharing your story and your journey of where you are as an educator, about your gratitude journey, and about, embracing all the emotions, being good with all your feelings, because, we live in a society that focuses on negative so much. And then when we shift to gratitude, do we push those all away, or do we still know that they're there? And we need to be aware of all of our emotions. This is an important part of gratitude. There are times that are hard. There are times that trials come and hard things come to us, but we need to be aware of those things and acknowledge those things. And I'm not necessarily be directly thankful for those things, but look at the character that's come out from walking through these things. Lainey and Natasha, appreciate hearing your voices this morning. Have a fabulous day. I'm grateful for evolving with gratitude. One more thing for April 26, 2023, Jake Miller brings us episode 20 of the EdTech News Brief. And in this episode, he brings us a lot of news. And you know what? If you need to catch up on the EdTech news, I really strongly recommend you listen to the EdTech News Week with Jake Miller. And so in this one, he talks about a couple of Canva tools, Magic Write, which is using an AI engine to help, to provide some content and context for the work that students possibly are doing. It comes with with the need for students to be aware of where their creativity is taking them, and the utility of tools that seem to be providing information, and then is that information accurate? So how do we know this information is accurate? That's like digital citizenship level, like 2.5 of being able to know and understand and being literate in this digital space where, new stuff is coming all the time. Okay, I'm going off, but in also other news here, Joe Merrill brings us the reading coach in Flip, and how Flip can help students understand their reading level, and how, we're using listening of Flip to do analysis through AI to talk about probably their, reading level. Okay, go take a listen to this. It's good. And there's other good things in here that Jake is bringing us. A conversation about ChatGPT as well, and Bing, AI, and other things like that. Thanks, Jake. Have a fabulous day. And I like that dad joke about the ghost. Fantastic. Okay, bye. The last thing for April 26, 2023, this morning, I listened to Tech Tools for Teachers with Shanna Martin and her husband Fuzz Martin, as they bring us episode 150. Congratulations, big hand clapping here. I'm clapping because I'm holding my phone with the other one, with one hand. And so congratulations, Shanna, as you have made 150 episodes of your podcast, and the resources that have come from you doing this over a long period of time are significant. So thanks so much. Glad to be part of the Educational Podcast Network with you, and welcome to EPN as you recently joined EPN. All right, in this episode, Shanna brings us podcasts for kids. She talks about how we as educators and, adults, we listen to podcasts and we learn so much from these things. This is why I learn to listen to podcasts, is because my learning goes up. I'm doing Pro D every day out here walking in the morning. And, but how do we bring podcasts listening to our students? There is podcasts that students can record, and that's a skill to teach students. But just even them just listening to podcasts on their own, and what some of that content that could be shared with them. You got two. And Shanna, I listened to Wow in the World a bit ago, probably about a year ago. I came across it in the summer, and it was just like, wow, that's awesome. That is incredible. And I even bought a couple of their books that are collecting dust now, because I just haven't put them into use. But they've got their, fun podcast that they talk about STEM and science and all those manner of things. So that's a really great one. And then Book Club for Kids is where students' voice is a part of
reviewing books, and goes up on to their podcast. And it's so, you can talk about how do you review a book, how do you share, and there's resources that go along with those books. So these are two fantastic tools that need to be shared in our elementary and middle school programs. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, Shanna. Thanks, Fuzz. Have a fabulous day. I will. Okay, bye. Hey PLN, it is April 27, 2023 in the afternoon. No fresh air at 5 this morning as I was packing and getting ready to leave for Prince George, British Columbia. I'm going to be attending the education conference there, I think called Spring Fling is what it's called, and then doing some fishing over the weekend. So looking forward to this trip. I'm going to listen to some podcasts later and get back to you with some more podcasts to listen to. Okay, peace, bye. Hey PLN, it's Friday, April 28, 2023, coming to you live from Prince George, British Columbia. I'm up here for the Educational Spring Fling Conference that's happening today at Prince George Secondary, and I flew into town yesterday. I left Vancouver. The last segment said I was going to listen to a podcast and get back to you, but it was busy traveling and all those things, so here I am now, and recording this morning. Yesterday afternoon while I was flying, I did listen to a podcast, and it was a new to me podcast. It came across my channel, and I wasn't aware of it before, but I saw Jillian Du Bois post about this, and it was on Twitter, so I thought I'd take a listen, and it's called the Optimalist Podcast. And so what's going on is that there's a new podcast by Get Focusable with Sarah Candela, and I think it's Sarah Candela, and she is the host of this podcast. It is 2 episodes in, so this is the second of the episodes, the trailer, one before this, and then here we are with episode number 2 with Jillian Du Bois. And they bring us thoughts about being focused in our distracted world. And my goodness, this has been a conversation that my colleagues and I have been having about how distracted our students are, and being able to help them get focused and be able to get their jobs done and the work that they need to do. So I was really encouraged to listen to Jillian talk with Sarah about the importance of self-regulation and the work that Jillian has done through her own personal experience with her son and through life in the past 25 years of understanding about self-regulation and what does that mean. So thanks, Sarah, and thank you, Jillian, for talking about that. Take a good listen to this, and I thought I can self-regulate, but there's more to it than that. Take a listen. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Okay, one more thing for April 28, 2023. Continuing my thoughts on episode 2 of the Optimalist Podcast by Get Focusable. As Jillian Du Bois was talking about self-regulation with Sarah Candela. And, the whole thing about self-regulation is that we work on trying to get our students to be able to self-regulate and our kids to self-regulate. But how do we ourselves as adults learn to cope and learn to get on and learn to be a self-regulated individuals in our world? And so that's something that, have you thought about that? How do you self-regulate yourself? What do you do to get out of the busyness and the funk of a moment that's happening right now? And how do you manage your emotions, both good and bad, to be able to get your stuff done? Yesterday, I was coming up here to the conference, and, because I'm coming out here for the conference and for the weekend in Prince George, my focus was not spectacular. I was not self-regulating very well yesterday. Just saying that. It's absolutely true. And, I was like a kid in a candy store, excited about a trip and going to meet people and even go fishing tomorrow and Sunday when I'm here. And you know what? I was like vibrating, and I was not regulating well. Not a very productive individual yesterday, And you know what? It's a good thing. It's an absolute fantastic thing, but I was not self-regulating. So taking deep breaths is important, and being able to have techniques that we can step back from a situation, assess it from from a little further distance before we jump in and get fixing. Because I'm a fixer, so is Jillian, and we all are fixers, and we like to fix for people and do things. All right, that's all I got for this segment. I'm gonna listen to one more podcast as I'm out walking for Fresh Air 5. One more thing for April 28, 2023, here from Prince George, British Columbia. Out for Fresh Air 5 this morning, walking around the town, enjoying the sunrise behind me. I listened to episode 122 of the Ignite EdTech podcast, and Craig Kemp brings us an EdTech tool called Noodle Break or something like that. You'll have to go check it out because I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it has to do with quick activities you can do in the class for breaking up transitions and some fun things. So check out Noodle. He talks with two members of the Diversity Collective, the founders of the Diversity Collective. We have Alan Fan and Alparana Sandaram, who are the co-founders of this organization that talks about bringing diversity into the workplace, and how, like, educational workplace, and how they both have experiences of lack of diversity and being overlooked for things because of their cultural backgrounds. And it was an interesting conversation. This guy right here that's talking to you right now, I got a whole lot of different ethnic backgrounds inside of me, and I wonder to myself sometimes, has that hindered me or provided opportunity for me? Well, I think I'm an asset and to organizations and to my organization in Abbotsford. And, I'm thankful for the opportunity to work where I do, and we do have a very diverse workforce. All right, thanks so much, Craig. Great to hear your voice. Hope you're doing well in Singapore, and off to an EdTech conference, not EdTech, educational conference today for the day here in Prince George. Peace out. Okay, bye. The last thing for April 28, 2023, as I'm wrapping up my walk here in Prince George, British Columbia, I listened to Teach Happier with Suzanne Daly. And Suzanne, thanks for your thoughtfulness and your words about must be nice. And you bring us that phrase. And, how do we use that phrase in our day? How do we, make it, it's an exasperation phrase. It's a phrase of jealousy that we see people doing things and we go, must be nice, But Suzanne brings us some ideas about how we can arrest our thoughts and to turn that negativity into caring for ourselves and thinking about how can we achieve the things that we're after. Must be nice that they can leave work at the end of the school day and go home to their family. What's involved in that person doing those things to be able to leave school early? Do we have to look at our routines and actions and things like that? Must be nice that person can go to the beach. How do they manage to make that happen with their family and their time to do that? So, Suzanne, thank you for your podcast episode and the thoughts about must be nice. I saw your title and I'm like, what's she going to talk about? And it's awesome. Fantastic. Thanks so much. Have a fabulous day. Carpenter out from Prince George, British Columbia. Going fishing tomorrow and on Sunday. And then I'm back to Abbotsford after that. Peace out. Bye-bye.
As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.